Hey everybody, Shalom Aleichem, welcome. Thanks for being with us again. Let's keep on singing some beautiful Elul music. Lo le'emanti, lidos betuv Hashem, lidos betuv Hashem, be'eretz chayim. Lo le'emanti, lidos betuv Hashem, lidos betuv Hashem, be'eretz chayim. Kabeil Hashem, chazak ve'yametz libecha, chazak ve'yametz libecha, v'kabeil Hashem, kabeil Hashem, chazak ve'yametz libecha, chazak ve'yametz libecha, v'kabeil Hashem, Lule Hemanti, Didos Betuv Hashem, Didos Betuv Hashem, Be'eretz Chaim, Lule Hemanti, Didos Betuv Hashem, Didos Betuv Hashem, Be'eretz Chaim. Kabel Hashem, Chazak v'yametz libecha, Chazak v'yametz libecha, v'kabel Hashem, Kabel Hashem, Chazak v'yametz libecha, Chazak v'yametz libecha, v'kabel Hashem. Da 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 Bum 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 bim 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 bum bim I do di di I do 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 da da di di I do di di I do di di I do la 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 שובו ושובו אל השם, תלכו עמכם לבורים, שובו ושובו אל השם, תלכו עמכם לבורים, שובו ושובו אל השם. תלכו עמכם לבורים, שובו ושובו אל השם. La 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 la, ay la la la, ay la bam 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 bam. La 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 la, ay la 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 la, ay la 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 la, ay la ay. Greetings, everybody. We got off to a really special start yesterday with the topic at hand, which is a place we all want to be in so badly. That place is called the place of Taharas HaMachshavos, purity of thoughts. What we wouldn't do to enter the new year 5781 Tafshin Pei Aleph with the ability to trust the stream of thoughts that we have. To feel like our mind and the thoughts that are produced in there are not just an enemy that I have to win and I have to try to, heal over, but rather that it's something that I can befriend even, that it can be my friend, that I could actually be proud of and say, when I come and meet a person, it's like, hey, Shalom Aleichem, you want to meet my mind? Usually it's not like that. It's like, hey, Shalom Aleichem, meet every part of me besides what I'm thinking right now. But what a beautiful world it would be if I could actually be so synchronized. And I'd be proud, I'd be mamish full of pride of being synchronized with the dance of my thoughts, again, the thoughts that which I want to have. And what we began yesterday doing through a teaching for Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter, which we're going to be continuing tonight, was that we consciously invited in thoughts we want to be thinking about. And we had them sit at the front of our mind and kind of just try to cultivate that and I guess beautify that and establish that it's possible. And we began by receiving very practical advice, not necessarily completely changing who we are, changing ourselves, changing locations, changing our names, changing surroundings, society, back, everything. Usually people people sometimes think that's what you have to do, right? You have to completely go through a complete internal facelift in order to start having different types of thoughts, pure ones. But Rav Yaakov Meir told us, when you see one coming, when you see a thought which you do not want to have coming, and maybe it's even a little bit far, what should you do? Don't wait till it comes right in front of you, but immediately go to another place. Start thinking about something else. And don't sit here and say, that doesn't work, I've tried that. You keep on trying. The other answer we got yesterday from Rav Yaakov Meir Shechter was when someone begins to have certain thoughts they really don't want to have, and they realize they're not able to just flee. So the way he said it yesterday was that start asking yourself verbally, start asking certain questions like, why would I want to have this thought? Why would I voluntarily choose to take this poison, this venom, and inject it into the Kodesh Kodashim, which is you and I? Our us a shtickle elokus, a little bit of a chelik elokamimal. Why would we consciously choose to do such a thing? Sorry, this is a little bit better for me. Why would we consciously choose to inject ourselves with such thing? And the more you speak that out, the more you realize, wait a second, if it is up to me, if I do have a chance to have control over what goes inside of me thought-wise, maybe I really, I can get out of this. And he says, and he brought an Or Chaim HaKadosh in the Pelayot, he spoke about that when a person is able to overcome the natural, rhythm of having impure thoughts, which so take us over. We have sometimes, we're completely at its mercy. But when you listen to some practical advice and you begin to see how it works, if Yaakov Meir Shechter says it's not just that you're doing a nice thing for yourself and you have a schar of a certain mitzvah of banishing out bad thoughts, you're literally shaking up heaven and earth. Olamot al gabe olamot, and we gave the mashal of like a chevel, a rope, which you tug on the bottom, and when you tug it on the bottom, all the worlds that are above it, and all the neshamas that are connected to it are also directly being influenced by it. So what we didn't get to yesterday, I'm just going to say like this, is that when you are able to wage war in the ways that we've spoken about until now, on thoughts that you don't want to have, at that moment, there's tremendous, gewaltig, amazing hashpaos, amazing influences taking place by many other people. It's almost like saying, if you suddenly walking down the street and you have this ha'ara, you have this enlightenment, like, wow, I feel like doing something so holy right now. Rest assured, it's probably because someone else that you have some kind of connection to had a moment of hisgabrus hamachshava, of overcoming a thought they didn't want to have, thus opening a gate for you. So we're all so beautifully intertwined with this very special idea. And today we're going to continue with more practical advice. I want you to know that after learning Rav Yaakov Meir Shechter's piece yesterday, I began all day long today. All I was doing was seeing, is it possible? Is it possible? And there were some really interesting moments when you try this at home, boys and girls. So look at this. This is a classic Torah in the world of Breslov. By Reb Nachman, everyone knows, Reb Nachman really honored and respected Koach HaDibur. Rabbi Nachman, and as I just got a notice on my phone, they just shot some missiles in Ashkelon. This should be for the protection of all the Toshavim there. All of Am Yisrael should be safe, and all our enemies should be completely demolished to the ground. Reb Nachman really believed in Koach HaDibur. Reb Nachman really believed in the power of speech. It's not stam that Rabbi Nachman put such an emphasis on the power of his bodhidus. But Rabbi Nachman's not only telling us that we have to use our speech when it comes to doing his bodhidus. Rabbi Nachman says in the world of tshuva, speech plays a very important role. So look how Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter takes this. This is a very short piece tonight, and hopefully we'll get the basa of it. He says like this: Avodat ha-machshava hi avodat midit. This, what we're speaking about working on our thoughts and purifying and rectifying the way that we think, refining our world of thoughts. Hi avodat midit. It's constant. It's not like, okay, I worked on that for a while and now I'm done. Now I'm good. This avodah is constant. It always happens. The path upon which someone can attain for themselves, acquire for themselves proper thoughts that they want to have, by speaking more and more words of holiness. So you might say, what are you talking about? We're talking, mazakashur, what does that have to do with anything? We're talking about machshavas. What are you going now talking about the mouth? So he says over here, they're very much correlated. They're very connected to each other. שהדיבור המרובה בכוחו להשפיע, שיהיה והשבות אל לבביך. The more a person uses and empowers his ability to use his mouth for holy things, the more that he will be able to have a restoration into his heart. Meaning, the more that whatever was happening over here, I speak words over here. It's like the mouth is in the middle, the mind is here, the heart is here, and the mouth is in the middle. It's almost like the mouth is the connector. The mouth is kind of like the funnel through which things can become purified. So even if up here things aren't working so good, if bechol zot, nonetheless, I still choose to really take my level of speech and enhance it, and really ask Hashem, please fill my mouth with your words of praise, fill my mouth with words of holiness, of longing, of kisufim, then eventually what's going to come down to the heart will be a result of my diburim. Because really, and he's going to address this right now, in today's day and age, it's so difficult to have to live a life unless you really rid yourself of smartphones, and even that's not a given. He says, "Bifrat she'anu shruim bedori yarud kaze." We're in such a generation. We're in such a generation, such a low generation, mamash kedor hamabul. On the level of distractions, we're as messed up as the dor hamabul, the generation of the flood. Hamafriya letarat hamachshava beofen nora. we don't even realize how much we're distracted by things that don't need to take up the time that it does and conquer the amount of emotional space. We're not even aware of it because we're living in a world where we think that's just, what it is. I'll never forget that. I mean, I wish I was strong enough. I remember when the smartphones first came out. So I said to myself back then, I said, this was like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. I said to myself, if I get a smartphone, which means that I'll always have access to check my email, my life will be over. That was before all other mediums of social media. That was just a distraction of email. This was before Facebook, Twitter, social media, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and all these other things. So Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter is saying we're living in a door that, and I think he's not even referring here to the smartphones because of, let's face it, I don't know how much his chevra really have smartphones. It's just that there's so much happening all the time, and there's so much exposure to so much that is happening all the time. Third line from the bottom, V'kashelo leha'adam liot shalit al machshavto. It is very difficult for a person to be a governor over his thoughts. Aval hadibur hu yoter beyad ha'adam. You know what a person feels they have much more control of? What they choose to speak, what they choose to say. That, Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter says, people feel much more of a chance of succeeding. The more your speech is filled with holiness, this is a very tremendous beneficiary zgula for the purification of thoughts. So let's just recap what we just learned for 1 second. This is very, very important. I wish I could govern over my thoughts. I would do anything in the world to say that it's something I feel that is in my ability to conquer. But let's face it, I am constantly being triggered. Even right now, I'm sure, and it's not your fault, it's just the world we live in. I'm sure that right now, the chevra that are learning with us online have 5 different windows open right now on their screen or on their phone and whatnot. It's because it's available to us. It's just right there in our face. It's so difficult. It's such a hard thing. So to say that I could actually be in control of my mind, of my thoughts, that's pretty difficult. But you know what I could feel that I have much more of a shlita, much more of a command on my speech. That, Rabbi Yaakov Meir says, a person could probably feel they have a better chance of governing. So now we continue, and he explains that this is really what Rabbi Nachman Breslover was all about. So you'll look now in the next piece, and he says like this. V'zehu inyano shel Rabbeinu. This was what Rabbi Nachman was all about. Leharbot b'diburim. Speak as much as you can holy words. Ribui shel amirat tehilim v'limud Torah. A Breslover is always using his mouth for kedusha. He's always either saying tehillim, he's saying Likutei Tfilas, he's saying Tikkun HaKlali, v'limud Torah, he's learning Torah, or he's doing his bodedus, diburim kedoshim, leharbot b'itbodedut, lehasiach halev lifnei Hashem Yisbarach, to converse the heart before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This was a very big thing. Whenever I read the journals and these like very, very short but beautiful biographies on a lot of the previous generation Breslover tzaddikim, it's always, the story is always that during Elul they would not stop saying holy words. There was an inyan to finish as much tehillim as you could, saying Tikkunei Zohar, finishing Sfarim all the time. I'll never forget. We were with Reb Chaim Kramer one year. One of the trips we had, we were in Uman, right around Rosh Chodesh Elul, or maybe it was a week after Elul began. I don't remember the exact date. And we were having dinner in BRI headquarters. I'm not sure if the Chaver remember this. It was really special. Reb Chaim gave a whole sicha to us, and then he's like, wait, 1 second, I have a siyum. And he pulled out Masechta Ksubas. That's a very long and hard Masechta. He did a siyum on Masechta Ksuvas, the tractate in the Gemara. Then he's like, one more second, and he pulled out a Tikkunei Zohar, and he did a siyum on Tikkunei Zohar. Yeah, real Breslev Chassid. Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter is saying over here is that this is what Rabbi Nachman was all about. Because it's not just that it's important to say holy words, but he's showing here the connection that all of this holy speech eventually does reach this world of machshava that you have. Anshe Shlomeinu nohagim, second paragraph, Anshe Shlomeinu nohagim leharbot b'diburim kedoshim b'yemei Elul hakedoshim. So the elders, our elderly brethren in Breslev, this is, during Elul, they would really take this to the next level. V'ra'uzo teitev bebeit midrashenu. You would see this in our Beis Medrash very clearly. Shlachar tefillah, hayu kulam oskim bedibur. Amru ve'amru ve'amru. After davening, everyone was busy with talking, with speaking. Amru ve'amru ve'amru. They would say and speak and speak. Echad amar te'ilim. השני אמר תיקוני זוהר, שהוא עצמו תיקון גדול, בפרט בימי אלול. הם היו מסיימים ספרים שלמים בימים קדושים אלו. They would finish, you do a lot of siyums on ספרים during these days, תנ"ך, או ספרי רבינו ושאר ספרים. ועל ידי כן היו באים לראש השנה מטוהרים ומרוחצים היטב במוח נפלא וזך. The last line here is so important. He said, through this, they would come and approach, they would go into Rosh Hashana, purified, scrubbed thoroughly, and they'd show up with a wonderful and a refined mind. With all the holy talk, they'd show up with a mind that was filled with being busy with what the mouth was saying. Zohi eifo atzato hanifla'a shel Rabbeinu. Atzat hadibur. This is an eitzah, a tremendous eitzah of the Rebbe, the eitzah of speech. Yesh ledaber uledaber. The person should speak and speak and speak. Ve'af amar, and Rabbi Nachman also said, shehadibur yesh lo koach atzum levatel kol et kitrugim. Rabbi Nachman said that speech has a tremendous power to nullify all prosecution. We spoke about this yesterday, about how when a person somehow is able to conquer the world of thought that he wants to so badly, it's not just that he's able to do a mitzvah and not think bad things, but he can literally remove negative prosecution that's hovering over him. This is a tremendous eitzah, not to leave holy speech. All right. So this is another example of a very tachlis lemaisa piece of practical advice that can help us tremendously as we're marching towards Yom Adin, as we're marching towards the time that we're in right now. Now, it's also, as much as it's tremendous advice, it's also a very, very difficult time to expect more of yourself. Why so? Because especially here in Eretz Yisrael, the situation is really, really wild. Usually when we say those words, we're referring to terror. It's like amazing how there were tons of bombs that were probably shot out just like 20 minutes ago, and it's just like a normal thing right now. But these days, when we're saying that things are very much out of control, we're speaking about this unknown. Again, I don't even know what this means that they tell us there's 5,000 new cases of people that are confirmed to be sick with corona. I just know that in my neighborhood around here in Efrat, there are hundreds of families in Efrat that are going to be in bidud for Rosh Hashana. And there are hundreds and hundreds of families here that are on shpilkas because they don't know what's going to be. So how can they really do the avoda of taharas hamachshava? How is it possible to spend time trying to purify the world of thought when there's so much on the plate? And it's a very real inyan, and it's not so pashut. So I want, first of all, everyone to be a little bit easier on themselves. But in the same notion, in the same breath, I really, really hope that we have enough koach to take this practical piece of eitzah and check in tomorrow with our mouth as much as possible to see how much have we been speaking, not just saying nice things about people. That's also, of course, diburim kedoshim. But if you just try to say nice things about people all day long, you'll get tired. But if you're busy using your mouth to praise God, to say tehillim, to learn, to do his bodhidus, and all the things that we spoke about before, dibur, 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 eventually, like, you could check yourself. Check yourself after a day where you consciously made a choice when you woke up and said, today I'm going to be a blabbermouth, but in a holy way, right? Check in and see how that's mashpia on your machshava, because it really, really does. A day after your mouth was used for kedusha and kedusha, your thoughts are simply different. They really, really are. They really are. And I know all of us want to have pure thoughts. All of us want to have quiet upstairs over here in the chatterbox. We want to be able to somehow believe, like we said before, that we could trust our train of thought and be proud of it. And if it was possible to even introduce it to people and not be ashamed or embarrassed of it. So this is another wonderful piece of advice that we have over here. Use your mouth as much as possible for holy words to be on the tip of your tongue. Someone called me today and said, Shlomo, I'm not feeling Elul at all. I'm not feeling Rosh Hashana at all. Nothing. This year I don't feel it at all. I said to him, just learn for 10 minutes. Like, occupy your mind and your mouth with something that could stimulate it with things that you want to be thinking about. People are always looking for that magic moment of, it's Elul, or boom, the shofar is going to come and hit me, and it may work like that, but the Rambam says we don't rely on miracles. We rely on the work that we put in. So those of you that showed up right now to learn with us for a few minutes, ashreichem, kol hakavod. But take this few minutes we just learned and go and say holy words. Go and say tehillim, not because that's the frum thing to do, but because you want to come into Rosh Hashanah with a pure mind, with pure thoughts, with an open mind, with giving God the opportunity to infuse us with hitchachut hamochim, with the renewal of intellect, which we so direly are in need of. So thank you so much for being with us tonight for this short cheer. We're going to be continuing tomorrow. We'll be sending out a message, and we'll try to keep on learning as much as we can right now in this very, very, very historic time. And Bezrat Hashem, all of us should be privileged to have an evening filled with pure thoughts, happy thoughts, simchadik thoughts. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are.